And most importantly, this show is a platform where families can inspire one another on how to raise independent thinkers. I'm your host, Bathsheba Omane, Montessori educator, homeschooling consultant, owner of Homeschool Guide LLC, and mother of two. Let's get started.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Akeem. Okay, can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Oh, I had my mic muted. Sorry.
Okay, you can hear me?
How are you? I'm good. I can hear you perfect. It was me.
Okay, awesome. So you're listening to the Raising Independent Thinkers show on Hindsight Radio. I hope you all are doing well, staying healthy and feeling blessed. I'm your host, Bathsheba, and Akeem will be co-hosting with me this evening. We're broadcasting live on Akeem's YouTube channel, AKIEM. So you can either check us out there, and we're also broadcasting on Blog Talk Radio. So hopefully, wherever you are, you're feeling good and you're feeling grateful. I'm starting to enjoy the spring weather here in North Carolina. And yesterday I was talking to Akeem, but I have this magnolia tree in the backyard that has bloomed, and one of the neighbors was telling me how beautiful the tree was when it blooms, and I thought she was being a little dramatic about it, but now that I see for myself, because this is the first spring in the house, it is absolutely beautiful. And I mean, big beautiful pink flowers, and I just had to sit back and just be thankful and grateful that I'm alive, and that I'm able to see the beauty of nature, which some might think is a small thing, but it was something that I found appreciation in. So hopefully you all found something to be grateful for this week, whether it's, that you woke up this morning, you were able to breathe, you're able to walk around, you can smell, you can taste. There's so many things that we take for granted, and we don't think about it until until we lose them, right? So be thankful for what you have right now and in the moment. So Akeem, are you thankful for anything?
Oh, yes. I'm thankful for a lot of things. There's so many, but most of all, I'm thankful for having you as a
Oh,
fiance.
I'm thankful for having you too.
Uh, you should have put some pictures so I could show the pictures here. I
Pictures.
saw the picture
Okay.
on Instagram. Was it Instagram or Facebook? One of them. I saw it earlier today. Yeah, it looks
Oh, okay.
really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and I, pulled up all the shades so you can see it. So as soon as you come downstairs, you just see this big tree in the window.
Yeah. It's-
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to put pictures up here on the chat or on
Well,
the
if you sent it
YouTube.
to me, I could share it from here.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I have to figure out how to do that.
I'm
So,
not getting any echo, are you?
no, no.
Figure. So we saw that echo. Sure. Okay. There you go.
Are you hearing echo?
No, I just want to make
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Um, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nope. So this week, I'm going to continue talking about having those difficult conversations with children. And last week we talked a little bit about death and some ways to answer um, your children's questions that might come up when that topic comes up. And when I was thinking when I was a kid, I don't even remember having any like real honest conversation about a serious topic with an adult. And I was really trying to think about this, but
I had plenty. Am
did
I
you?
wrong? You not to do this and not to do that. I had a lot of serious conversations. Yeah,
Wow. Well, you're
I was
lucky. Because I don't remember any. I do remember taking like we had sex ed classes in high school, and that was like the most serious conversation to me
sex
that came
education
from an
is about
adult.
not catching VD. That's all they really much talked about there.
Yeah.
It's
Well, in my school they really got into it, and they, answered
pregnant.
questions, and but and I had to wait all the way until high school to have that conversation, which is crazy.
Right.
What conversations did you have?
In school?
Well,
The
you said you had a lot.
Yeah, my father talked to us about sex. Of course, he gave us all the negative stuff that you can get somebody
Mhm,
pregnant, you can get VD if you did it. But the one thing I think they should have explained was
mhm,
that it is a possibility you might enjoy it.
mhm. Well,
You'd
when
be
you
addicted
when you
for the
had
rest of
how
your life.
old were you?
No one told me that, huh?
How old were you when you had those
My father
conversations?
was so we were young,
Mm,
about 8-ish, 9.
okay.
They went over that stuff. But it
Okay.
was all like the do's and the don'ts, not that, hey, you should find someone you care about and it can be pleasurable. Because when
Mhm,
I for the
mhm,
first time, I was like, I felt like I was lied to. I'm like, yeah, y'all didn't tell me this thing was gonna be good. You know, I could weather you know the possibilities of something going wrong.
mhm.
Out
Were you
all of
able
it.
to ask questions?
The way he talked to us, he was kind of afraid to ask. Not really afraid, kind of nervous to ask questions. Like I felt
Mhm.
it was like an uncomfortable conversation.
Right, right. Well, at least you had the conversation. I know a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
don't,
mean, I remember it was like one time it was my mother, my father had us all standing there talking. Then it was my father by
mhm.
himself, and
Okay.
you know,
Well, I think for many people, um, people wait way too long to have those type of conversations with their kids.
yeah.
And I was listening to this TED talk yesterday, and it was called How to Get Your Kids to Listen and Engage. And the speaker was a psychotherapist, and she made some really good points. I didn't play it today, but because it was a little too long. But she made some really good points that made me think about how we're affected as adults as a result of the relationships and conversations that we have when we're children with other adults. And it was interesting that she said that with most of her clients, she hears similar things coming from them. So they say things like, what I need doesn't really matter. What I have to say doesn't matter. They feel these things. I'm scared to start something because I don't want to get it wrong. And I don't know about you, but I know I've heard that coming from both of my children, those types of, words, as well as feeling like that myself sometimes. And I think it's a constant feeling of not maybe not constant, but it's a feeling of some uncertainty and having doubts of your own beliefs. And I think like sometimes as parents, we don't necessarily realize the damage that we're doing to our kids, and just the ways that we don't really respect them. Excuse me, as human beings. Um, I think many adults don't feel like children can handle the truth when we're talking about certain things, so we tend to hide information from them. Um,
Mhm.
And I think many of us just want our kids to listen without having an opinion, you know? Like,
Right.
the amount of times I heard because do it because I said so, and as children, that's how I think many of us were taught, and we just treat our children the same way. So I like to have these conversations um, just for people to see a different perspective and how we can raise our kids a little differently.
Right. Yes. I think a lot of times why we have those especially us people of color or what they want to call black or African American, um, we have those doubts because of the images that we're being bombarded with all our lives, pretty much. As lighter is better, straight hair is better than tightly curled hair. So all of that plays a part in your confidence.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we deal with a lot of things that we're preconditioned with before we become adults. And when you're being taught from a perspective of that your ancestors were slaves, which now we know that a lot of that's not true.
Hmm.
Uh, what do you what that does something to your self-esteem, your psychological health.
Hmm.
So we're living under extreme trauma mentally in our
Yeah.
lives the day we're born. So that's the reason why we have so many people like us look like us that don't have confidence.
Hmm.
We
Yeah,
can
I
over
never really thought about it that way.
that's
Yeah,
why
I'm sorry.
that's one of the main reasons why we don't have confidence, because it's such a lie is being perpetuated think about it. If you come from a group of people where your ancestors were not slaves and they came here and they were pioneers and they came and created this whole frontier coming from their homeland, and they
Mm.
make you believe that they created this government and everything you see around you, which is one big lie. And you're being told that you were servants of these people.
Mm.
It's to be expected that they're not going to have self-confidence.
Right. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah, I never
Now,
thought about it that way. I think like back then, they were just being taught how to follow instruction. So,
yeah, try to be well. That's what the educational system is for, teaching you how to follow instructions. This is why people just doing whatever now that we're going through this pandemic, because they've been taught how to follow instructions and not question, even though it sounds a lot of the stuff you're being told is just totally ridiculous. Doesn't
mhm,
even make sense from a scientific, even a common sense point of view. And we know things don't make sense, but because we're programmed, a lot of people are programmed not to question. They're living their lives in extreme fear
right.
and lack of confidence. Like, I was looking at people saying, "Oh, it looks like I'm finally gonna get out." You could have got out the whole year. Like, but
Oh, get outside?
yeah, get outside and do stuff and go travel and do something.
Mhm.
You know, but the news said don't, and they didn't.
Right, right.
The print said don't, and they didn't.
Right,
And
right.
then you and I, we traveled the whole year long. I mean, we didn't stop us, and we didn't. How many times were we sick? We weren't. But
Mhm.
that's because our self-confidence is different.
Right. Well, what you said, that how we're programmed not to question, you
Hmm.
know, and I think that's what we need to break that programming. And
Hmm.
even parents now they still have that where they don't want their kids to question them, you know?
Yeah, I had to learn that. I come from that background when my parents, you try to say something, shut up. You don't talk when I'm talking. Don't
Right,
question an adult.
right,
I've
right,
had adults, teachers lie on me, and then when I said no, that's not true. You telling just because it's an adult, you can't
right.
question them or call them a liar. That's what I got. Like, it's not the truth. So I'm not saying you can call it what you want, but
Right.
I had to break out of that with my children that, they do have a voice and you got to listen because you can
Right.
learn, actually, you can learn a lot from your children. You really
You
can
can.
teach you.
You can. You absolutely can. So, this show is all about raising independent thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes facing those tough conversations, having real conversations that we don't necessarily want to talk about or face with our children, but it's really necessary if we want them to be independent thinkers.
Right.
So this week's topic is all about talking to kids about the news or what they watch on TV, social media, about what's going on in the world.
You mean it's not really news? It's infotainment. That's what it is.
What did you call it?
Infotainment. It's
Oh,
it's
infotainment.
sensationalized. A lot of the stuff is extremely exaggerated
Mm-hmm.
and not based in any facts. And most of the stuff that they're reporting on, they look
Right.
at sensation and the biggest drama of something.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
give you truth,
Right.
of what is really going on. Yeah.
Right. So, like as a kid, thinking back, I remember hearing stories, and like this is like the 80s and 90s. I remember hearing stories about the spread of HIV. That was the big story in the 80s and
Right.
part of the 90s. And I remember as a kid being very afraid of getting AIDS, and there was no
We have
adult
children
who
because
really.
they're afraid of. I think that's what kept a lot of people single because not wanting to get involved with anybody sexually because of that.
Yeah, that's a good
A lot of women
point.
lived in fear over that for
That's a
years.
good point. I mean, and kids, like I grew up in the 80s. So
Mhm.
there were kids that really didn't understand. And we just kind of made up our own narrative about it because adults wasn't really explaining it.
They didn't know.
Right. And it's you're right. They
They didn't
didn't
know
know.
any facts about AIDS.
And we just listened to what other people were saying
Yeah, it's all
and I think that's what children do. Like when they don't understand something, they just create stories about it in their head.
they believe
And
parents tell them.
right. And
And
like you said, the parents were miseducated as well.
right.
And I think like you were saying that we should all be aware that there is information that's fabricated and even more so now, like with these journalists putting out stories that sound catchy just to get more views or to pump fear into people. But
Well,
the information is not necessarily the truth.
let,
Um,
let me
Go
just
ahead.
add to that AIDS story, right? Okay. Question. How many people died from AIDS personally?
I don't know anyone personally.
So when that came out, I was a kid. I was probably, early, not even a teenager yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's strange, right? But now, what is AIDS? It's a acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So that means your immune system is compromised.
Mm-hmm.
It's not able to fight off any diseases.
Right.
Now, what's odd is there's a lot of things that causes your immune system to be compromised. One of them is fear, which you just talked about in the news thing.
Mm-hmm.
So your immune system doesn't work when you are in a constant state of fear.
Fear.
That's why a lot of people who are fearful end up really sick. And I know someone personally like that that's always fear of this, and they listen to the news religiously, and they are extremely sick now.
Right. I know someone like that as well.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then other things that cause a compromised immune system, radiation from cancer treatment. So if this is an acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which they say HIV is the virus that causes it, then what is it? It is just a compromised immune system from a lot of things. You could not eating right, not taking care of your body, Um, a lot of prescription drugs can cause that same thing.
Mhm.
So that's why you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about it anymore.
Hmm.
When you start looking at this whole thing holistically, it's a lot of stuff. They just create these different terms, then they create the medication to fix the term that they created. You see,
Mhm.
coincidentally dealing with now, we have a virus, and now all of a sudden, magically, 3 companies got a vaccine for it almost overnight.
Well, I tend to, I've always, I think, tended to be very weary about stories that I hear on the news. And I think that's why it's important to fact check. Um, and I also tend not to believe in like conspiracy theories either. Like, I tend to really want to fact check and know the facts before I say, okay, that's the truth.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I thought of another story when I was a teenager. I remember when I was a teenager, there was a television in every single room. I'm not sure if you grew up like that, but
Yeah, one team.
we we had a television in every single room, in the bedrooms and
Fires.
everything. And the news was on a lot. And although I wasn't sitting in front of the TV watching the news, I could still like hear the news and listen to it, and it was getting into my subconscious mind. Um, and another experience that I remember with the news was when 9/11 hit.
Oh, they played that old.
Oh my goodness. And so I was living in New York at the time, and I worked in the city in a preschool on the east side of Manhattan. And I was in my early 20s at the time. And I just remember watching the news that evening and seeing people jumping out of the windows. And now I know there is stories of untruths and conspiracy theories, but what I remember are the images that I saw on TV. And after seeing those images, I had tons of nightmares for that from that for quite a while. And
Show that, like, why they want to show people trying to get saved, trying to get out of a fire and then basically killing themselves to do it. But
right, but I mean after that experience, I actually decided not to watch the news anymore. And I mean, you notice I never sit there and watch the news.
mm-hmm.
But it was then that's when I decided not to watch the news anymore.
Well, they find a way to get to you through your social media pages now. And then,
That's true.
they-
That's
they-
true.
well, that's a little bit better because you can actually control it, keep moving. Whereas, I had a grandmother that if you turned it from the news, she was going to flip.
Wow.
It stayed on the news in the morning, and then between that, she'd watch something else, and
Right.
then it would go, midday news, and then the evening news, and then the late night news. It was always round the clock,
Wow.
news, 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 and that's how people get their facts. What they believe
Right. Right.
is
What
through
they
what
believe is
someone
facts, right?
reported, right?
But
You know,
growing up, the TV was always on, but during those days we were forced to go outside.
yeah, get out of here.
Right? So, I mean, we didn't have a choice. I remember I wanted to read a book in my room after school, and I was told that I had to go outside and read. And
Mhm,
I had to be outside until it was dinner time, pretty
mhm.
much every single day.
Yeah, that's how it was. Now it's a different world.
It is. It is. And
Now
nowadays.
people are complaining about, like, there's children on this block that play outside all every day,
Mhm.
and I got some neighbors complaining about them playing outside. Like,
Who
what?
was complaining about? Oh, neighbors?
Neighbors? Well, we had a
Why
new
would they
neighbor that just
complain that children are outside?
and I used to all of the kids running around and like,
Oh,
huh?
that's crazy. So, um, I was looking at a study, and the New York Times, according to the New York Times, the study was from 2016. And it says American adults were watching a little over 5 hours of television per day.
That's a
And
lot.
so that was back in 2016. So you know the numbers have gone up since then, especially since last
All
year.
the streaming and
Right. And in the study, it said that 42% of American families keep their TV on throughout the day, even if they're not sitting in front of it. And 42% is a lot. That's a lot.
it's
So,
probably because a lot of people don't take those surveys that they're sending.
right, it's probably more than that. So I think because children are staying inside more, they're more inclined to be listening to the information that they're hearing on TV. And, they might ask those questions, especially if they're hearing about shootings and people getting killed. And I think a lot of times we don't think that the children are listening to it, but they
Listening.
are. They're listening. They might not be sitting there watching it with you, but they're listening. And what makes it even crazier is that majority of kids are getting their information from non-news sources. Like, my kids, they watch late night talk shows and Saturday Night Live. They're getting their news that way. Social media, YouTube. That's how they're getting their news. So, if you wanted to share your opinion or experience with us, please call in to the show. I think it's always good to hear other perspectives. And I think that's how we can learn from each other. So you can call in. The number is on the screen, 563-999-3615, or you can comment on YouTube.
You can speak live.
Yes, we are live. So, how do we have these conversations with our kids about what we see on the news or on social media, about what's going on in the world? So, the first thing that I think we must do is that we must see our kids as having a mind of their own, which is sometimes hard to do, and respecting their thoughts. Now, of course, we have more experience as adults and we have more wisdom, hopefully. So we are going to guide them and give them knowledge. But as we are guiding them, we need to be mindful that it's okay for them to have their own opinion. And I know for myself, sometimes I have to take several deep breaths, especially when my child doesn't agree with something or has their own perspective on something that sounds contrary. But just like having any debate, we need to be able to control ourselves and at least listen to what they have to say.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. But if I'm financing something, I'm gonna have a heavier opinion on that. If I'm financing, if it's something we're discussing and it's me involved with me financing it, I think I'm gonna have a final say on that, whatever it is.
And they still have a choice.
Yeah, they have a choice. They can finance it themselves.
Right. They can finance it themselves.
That's how I'd look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel about something, I don't disagree with it. I don't, if it's something you want to do and it requires, that you need my help financially, then we're going to come to a compromise on what we're going to do in that situation. Or if you don't want to come to a compromise, well, then, hey, you figure out how you're going to take care of that.
Right.
That's how I look at it. It just depends on the situation, really.
I agree with that point, though. No, I do. I think the second thing is asking your child questions. Finding out what they already know, because children know a lot. We don't think they do, but they know a lot. And once you see what they know, then you can have a discussion about the facts and about the context of whatever story or event they're talking about. And like I said, you'd be surprised what they know, and it's important that that they're not making up stories that are unfactual just because there's no adult bothered to explain. Because we want our kids to know the facts at least. So I think it's important to ask questions. The next thing that I think that we can do is to encourage our children to tell the story in their own words. So if your child is creative, they might like to draw pictures. You can have them draw pictures about the event or the story that they heard. And I think this will help them respond in a creative way. And it'll also give you something to discuss.
Right.
And it also helps us see their point of view.
Mhm.
And another thing I think to be mindful about, excuse me, is just to not keep the TV on all day around your kids. Like, I don't think that's healthy at all, even for adults. Especially if you're watching a news story that's negative or graphic, because it's almost certain that if they're not watching it, they're listening. So, and I notice you don't
Not even
normally.
just news, just anything in general. Right now, music videos, and they're not making, especially music that is catered to us, is nothing for the most part healthy about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, movies, even some of these cartoons.
Yeah.
So when you are discussing a story or event, I think it's good to focus on the positive things. I think that's something that we don't hear or see enough in news stories, but point out, what's positive. So, for example, if there's a news story where a house is on fire, and it's on the news and your child is watching that or they hear it, they hear about it and they ask questions about it. You might want to focus on how quickly the fire department came or how no one got hurt, or just find ways to focus on the positive things when it comes to stories. And you don't have to really share, depending on how old the child is. If the child is young, I don't feel that it's necessary to share every single little detail, especially if there was a horrible event that took place. Unless the child is asking those questions. So let me go ahead and look at the chat, Hakeem. I wanted to see if anyone had anything to say.
Just comments. Ronald Adams had a lot to say.
Who?
Ronald Adams.
Oh,
Chat.
okay.
Just lot of hellos and.
Okay. Peace and love. Okay.
Lottie Dottie said gratitude. That's it. No real questions.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I had on that topic.
Yeah, I think it's important that children be given a accurate perception of what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it should come from their parents or the adults that are responsible for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we need to respect that they have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We might not like it all the time, but I think we need to find ways and to respect our children a little bit more.
Yeah, we do respect what they have to say, but also we need to also run that line that you're still a child and you're learning and got some things to learn, that there's some knowledge that an adult will have that a child doesn't have at that time.
Hmm. I find that I think that when we respect a child, it'll help them learn how to respect the adult. It's it goes vice versa. Like I don't um I don't take any child disrespecting me because I always respect children. So I just expect it in return, you know. Um okay, well, I wanted to read some more of the book that we've been reading, the 100 Amazing Facts.
Mhm. All right.
I'm not sure if you had it ready, if you can pull it up, but I can read it. I know we were on, well, the book that we've been reading is called 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, and it's by A.J. Rogers, who we learned was a true
What's her?
Renaissance man. Um, and it seems like he didn't really get the acknowledgement that he deserved.
Of course not. They don't want people to know all of this stuff that built by people of color,
Right.
what they want to call Negro, Black, and African American. They don't want to hear that. Some of our
Right.
people don't want to hear it. Um,
But
which one? Which
we're
one are we
on
on?
I believe number 12 of
Okay.
Ancient
Well,
Civilization, which I know for me was on page 21.
I have it up
Um
there.
let me see if I could find it on my
Up on the.
end.
It's on the screen.
Okay, okay. Um so last week we talked about Elam, which was a mighty Negro civilization in Persia, which is now in Iran. And we read about King Nakunta, who conquered Babylon and brought back rich treasures to his nation. So we're on number 12. Um, and it says Cheops. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Cheops. Cheops. A Negro built the Great Pyramid, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. It is 451 feet high, has 2,500,000 blocks of granite. Wow, that's a lot of granite. Each 2.5 tons, covers 13 acres, took 100,000 men, 30 years to build, and was completed in 3730 BC. So let's look at the proof on that.
What page is that one?
That is the proof is on page 40. Let me see. It's on page 50 or 40, 49. No, I'm sorry, 51. Yes, 51.
I don't know if it's the same one. I don't think I have that as the same page.
No? Okay, well I'll read it.
The proof
You
is
should have it. Yeah, it
which
says right there. The proof ancient civilization. Yep,
I
right
don't know.
there.
The page you gave me doesn't bring what you have up.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
All right, I have ancient civilizations.
So number 12.
I
So
have okay, right there. All right,
okay.
got it.
Okay. So it says the portrait of Cheops shows his Negro strain. It says in the Ethiopian Hall of the Old Boston Museum, I saw in 1924 a bust with the inscription Negro Princess of the Cheops family. The new museum there has two limestone busts, one of a Negro prince and the other a Negro princess of his family. The Negro in Greek and Roman civilization. the testimony of eyewitnesses as well as that of modern science is that the Egyptians were Negroid. That is to say, largely mulatto, and the Ethiopians unmixed Negroes. And then it says that the Egyptians had black skin and woolly hair. Aristotle, who was born 324 BC and still ranks as a great scientist, clearly says too that the Egyptians were very black and the Ethiopians woolly hair.
Mm-hmm.
So as we see, the Egyptians were black. The Cheops was a Negro who built the Great Pyramid. And I actually looked up the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is the oldest monument on the list of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And it's actually the only one left standing.
They tore it down.
And
They went
tore
around
it down.
destroy stuff. Yeah, they were destroying all of the ancient. What you see now is just remnants of what was left, what was there. They went around destroying all of the statues and everything because, especially the ones that had obvious features that showed there was people of color instead of them.
I'm guessing the remnants of the Great Pyramid, the only one that's left standing, is located. The one that's located in Egypt. It says it's located.
There are more pyramids. There's pyramids that are not as big as that one. But there's pyramids right here in the United States of America, all over. They just don't tell you about them. You know, a lot of what you think is a mountain is actually a pyramid covered up by, years of. What you think is a mountain is a pyramid under there covered by years of things growing, overgrowth. Yeah. Hey, yes, it's more. Actually, it's more pyramids here in the Americas between, South Central, in North America than it is in Egypt, but not as big as, the one you're talking about. Now, when we went in Mexico, that was a small pyramid. It just didn't have the capstone on it. You see, so.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how it was built.
Yeah.
Like this Great Pyramid of Giza, I'm looking at. I would love to see the area in Egypt one day.
Yeah, it's all stripped down. All of the original stuff they took, out. What was originally there, what it originally looked like. It's been what you say whitewashed. It's all over. They got so many things around the world that we have no idea. Who built it? Because all of your wonders were built by people of color, all of them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's in these shackles, I guess. They try to make us believe we was not smart enough.
Well, I think this book is interesting, though. I find it interesting how he took time to find the proof for all of these things. And
well, if you think there's something, you need to get the book When Rocks Cry Out.
I've heard of that book.
I have it here. He showed how all of the stuff that we talk about in the Bible, he actually proved it, and it was all in the Americas. Way they write the Bible, the new versions make you think it was over in Africa somewhere. But a lot of the stuff that he found, the actual written stones and stuff like that in Peru and places like that, is supposed to be where King Solomon's temple was. And now, which is funny, an article came out about 2 or 3 weeks ago that so-called scientists are saying that it's a possibility
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the stuff that we're reading in the Bible actually happened here in the Americas.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, but this guy had already proved it years ago. And no one wanted to hear what he had to say. Now they're kind of
Right, yeah.
getting on board with that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know, they haven't found out one. In what museum do you know that they have one Bible character in it? You know, his coffin, remnants of something from the Bible. You don't see it.
Right.
But we got dinosaurs million years old, bones and supposed dinosaurs and things like that from prehistoric times, but we don't have anything that was a lot more recent in the
Right.
other than ancient civilizations, which is mostly of color. Remember to the Museum of Natural History. How many European civilizations did you see in there?
None.
There's hardly any. Right. So all of this stuff they're putting in museums is a history of our ancestors.
Right.
So, but the truth has always been right in our face. We just chose to be like most people, listen to what the news is saying or what we're being taught in these fictional history books, than actually looking at what's staring us right in the face.
I mean, this man, he really addressed so many different issues and with scientific support. And it's just amazing that we didn't learn about him in school. You know, his name is Joel Augustus Rogers, J.A. Rogers.
There is no white supremacy if they were to teach that. You can't have white supremacy and let people know that these what so-called white supremacists, say that they're the most advanced and smart people when you have all of these people making all of these wonders, these great inventions.
Yeah. He has.
There's no way you can have what they have now if they taught that. There's
right.
No way to teach that.
He has this other book called Africa's Gift to America, and it says that he challenged prevailing ideas about race, demonstrated the connections between civilizations, and traced African achievements. He was one of the greatest popularizers of African history in the 20th century.
Yeah, somebody commented that there's millions of pyramids in the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, and Gulf of Mexico Ocean by the ancestors. That's true. Because I actually went snorkeling in Mexico, right? And it's funny. And I'm in this, it was the ocean, but I saw all of these artifacts in the water. And they were saying, oh, that was put there, they just for the tourists. I said to the guy, hell no, that wasn't put there. That was there already. And then we got to talking off to the side. Me and the guy was Mexican. He said, that's what they tell us to tell people. We have to stick to this script of what is being said. This is all I can say. And so he was kind of telling me offhand that, they have a narrative. And I know that's true because when I went to Dominican Republic and they had this castle that Columbus was supposed to be that was staying, right? And they had all of these trinkets lying around, about slavery and all of this craziness. And on the tour was just me and Lauren. We were the only ones on the tour that were dark, and everybody else was fair-skinned white folks, right? And then they showed, he's buried over there. Guess what it was he was supposed to be buried in? Take a wild guess he was supposed to be buried in.
What?
Just take a wild guess. We were just talking about it.
That he was supposed to be buried in?
That they claim he was buried in.
I have no idea.
It was a pyramid. in
Oh, a
Dominican Republic.
pyramid. Okay.
Pyramid. You can actually see the pyramid
Okay.
from the where we standing. They pointed to it. Say, yeah, they say he's buried in there, which I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when I remember going through the castle, it's all props. These are not real. They're trying to make you think slavery is real. They had these shackles and all this craziness going on. Because I said, where's these boats that these people are supposed to have been traveling on? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we went through the church. They had a church, an old Catholic church, and they had the Pope laying there, uh, you know, a casket, the old
Mm-hmm.
one of the popes in there, or like a statue of him. Then they had like a flame that's supposed to be holy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they set up all of these little things, white supremacist ideals around the world. So when people come to visit, they tell these stories over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those stories are fiction. They're not true. You know, like we went to Mexico, the guy said the indigenous people in Mexico was some blue-eyed,
Mm-hmm.
fair-skinned people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Are you crazy? I
Yeah,
looked at that.
that wouldn't really make much sense.
Oh, where are they?
But
Where
mm-hmm.
are they? Right? I was like, are you serious? Like, no, it's not. The indigenous people of that land was the Tainos that, now we're calling them Mexicans and we're calling them Philippines and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Oh,
Mm.
or
Well, it sounds like he was doing his job.
yeah, they give them a script to tell these crazy stories, but if you know history, really dig, and you know that don't even make sense what he said.
Mm-hmm.
You got all these indigenous people I'm looking at, and all of us, where did these guys come from? How were
Mm-hmm.
they indigenous to this land? No, there's no way. Especially since Mexico was part of the United States of America at one time. You know, we had
Mm-hmm.
like Texas and all of that was all California was all part of Mexico at one
Mm-hmm.
time. So, like, come on. You know, you show all of this immigration thing. You know that immigration is always tied to people coming over the border from Mexico. Like no one comes from another country over here, other places from over here.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They're trying to keep the indigenous people from coming back to their lands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the reason why they're coming back over here because their ancestry, they come from here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you go back to where you're from. Your spirit
Mm-hmm.
leads you. Yeah, I can go on
Absolutely.
about
I
being
know you.
alive.
I know you can. I know you have that love for history. Um, okay, Keem.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share?
Uh, I don't know.
My,
I didn't do a show last Tuesday
mm-hmm.
because I needed a break, and I may not do a show this Tuesday because I'm gathering some really powerful information. And right now, as it stands, I probably won't do a show Tuesday, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely do a show the next Tuesday. I got information. The ancestors, the spirit told me to take a break and become a student instead of a teacher for a while, for a
That's
couple of
good.
weeks. So I might do a show Tuesday. I don't know. Y'all know when I post it. If the information is not ripe, I won't do a show. But best believe when I come back and do a show, it's going to be a powerful one. So y'all just
Okay. Well, our other shows, Mondays, we have Fun Bay at 7 p.m. The Truth, of course, the Truth Tuesday show with the Keem at 7 p.m. Solomon Temple show on Wednesdays. Is he doing it at 10 a.m.?
10
Is that
a.m.
right? 10 a.m.
Wednesday morning. Yes.
Okay. Divine Connection with Tasia and Jessica on Thursdays at 7 p.m. And my show, Raising an Independent Thinker, every Sunday evening at 7 p.m.
Uh,
Please, if you are in need of consulting on homeschooling, finding the right curriculum, finding a homeschool group in your area, or you need help with ideas in setting up your homeschooling space, please contact me at home-schoolguide.com and schedule a consultation. Also, if you're in need of an advocate, if your child is having challenges in public or private school and you're needing support talking to administration, I'm also available for that as well. So I hope you all stay
Right.
blessed and stay
Yeah.
healthy. Is there anything else, Akeem?
No, I got another. I'm putting together another webinar. It's gonna be
Okay.
related.
It's going to be what?
Injunction related webinar.
Injunction.
It's not gonna be called the injunction. It's gonna be something a little more comprehensive, a lot more comprehensive than that. Stay tuned for the dates on that. Anybody that didn't driver's license webinar, go to my site, email.com. It's there, it's ready. And it's working. All right, with that being said, I'm out. Always a pleasure. Beth, do a show
Okay,
with
yes. It's always a pleasure,
All right.
Akeem.
All right, peace,
Stay
prosperity,
blessed.
everyone. Peace.
Okay, peace, everyone.